What's going on, family? Welcome back to the channel. So it's really not that cold out here, but wintertime is coming soon. I have a video brought to you guys by Timothy Tate from Corvette C5 Freaks. So we're going to give you guys 10 tips on how to winterize your Corvette since that time is coming. All right, family, so now that I am undressed and weather appropriate, we're going to go ahead and jump right into the 10 tips to winterize your Corvette. So I'm going to go over the 10 tips, and I'm going to also give my feedback on whether I follow those steps or if I disagree with them. But I'm going to tell you up front that there's a lot of steps that I agree with. I also learned a lot from his 10 tips. Before we get started, go ahead and hit that subscribe button below. Make sure you guys hit the thumbs up, share the video, and let me know what you think about the 10 tips. And if you have any more tips that you would like to add on. All right, number one is going to be location. So he talks about storing your Corvette in a garage, a barn, a shed, or somewhere that the car is going to be covered, okay? I agree 100% on that. My garage is where I store my Corvette, and I treat my sports cars typically like I treat my motorcycles. I make sure that they have shelter in a sense, okay? So number two is going to be gas. He recommends that you fill your gas tank up. That way it's completely full. Most of the times I do try to fill my tank up to make sure that it's full, but if it's not full, I make sure that it is completely empty, and that way there's no room for condensation to build. So if your tank is at, let's say, half a tank full, you're allowing for that ethanol to separate from the gasoline, and it causes moisture, right? And then you have water in your tank, and then that's where you get that terrible gas from. So I would recommend following his steps in regards to filling the tank up, because having your tank completely empty is bad for your fuel filter as well as your fuel pump. So you don't want to cause any damage. In regards to the fuel, he also recommended that you put 100% gasoline into your vehicle, which is non-ethanol gas. That way the ethanol doesn't have the ability to separate from the gasoline, and you don't get that condensation. If you are not able to get 100% gasoline, then he recommended that you use Sta-bil to put into your fuel tank along with your gas, and that way, again, it limits that condensation. All right, family, so number three is going to be making sure that you maintain your battery. Now, make sure your battery is in good condition before the car is put away, because if the battery is leaking at all, as you guys know, the engine's computer is directly under the battery and it can cause issues. So if you have any leaks, go ahead and replace that battery or take that battery out before you store it, because you don't want that to leak over months at a time. So he also recommended that you buy a battery tender and put a battery tender on your battery. The other option is to disconnect your battery. Now, me personally, I do disconnect my batteries. The reason why I disconnect my battery is because I don't want it to draw at all. I know, for example, your cigarette lighter is continuously able to be used, right? The car is not on, the key's not in. You can still charge your phone or use your cigarette lighter. With that being said, I do disconnect my battery because I don't want it to draw, I don't want it to go bad. But putting a battery tender on it is good as well. Now, Timothy noted that he doesn't like to disconnect the battery because he has to reset all of his features, all of his settings, and I do understand that as well. So you can go either way. You can disconnect the battery or put a battery tender on it. Now, when I store my battery, as you guys can see, I have my positive and my negative wires disconnected, and I just keep them in those spots right there. So number four is going to be tire pressure. Making sure that your tire pressure is at 35 psi is going to be very important. And the reason why is because during the winter time or when it gets cold, your tires drop pressure. By putting your tire pressure at 35 psi, you're allowing room for the tire pressure to drop when it gets cold, and it may drop to 33 psi, 32 psi, which is where you want it to be. However, if it goes flat, then you're going to create flat spots in your tire, and you'll need new tires after that. Number five is going to be to wash the car, wax the car, and make sure that it is in great condition, right? So as you guys can see, the car is clean right now. It's not waxed, but it is pretty clean. Make sure you have some kind of protectant over your rubber, which I don't right now, but you want to make sure you protect your rubber as much as you can. In addition to your plastic pieces, you want to make sure that those are protected as well, okay? Plastic and rubber. Rubber dry rots, plastic breaks when it gets old. So if you keep it lubricated, then you will be able to save some money in the long run. Now, my seats are not the best, but he also recommended putting some leather protectant on your seats to make sure that they stay moist and lubricated over the winter, and that way they don't dry and your seats don't look like mine. All right, so number 6 is going to be to make sure that you have a good car cover. Now, this is where I kind of slack at. Because my garage is temperature controlled, I don't put a car cover on here because I know it's not going to be exposed to any bad elements. However, it is extremely dusty when I bring it out for the springtime. So get a good car cover. The cover that he recommends is Cover King, okay? So number 7 is going to be creatures, mice. If you have mice in your area that can get to your car, you want to make sure you keep them at a distance. Now, Timothy recommended, which I did not know, Timothy recommended that you put Irish Springs bar soap and or dryer sheets at different locations in and around your car, and that way it will keep them at a distance. I did not know that, but that is something very, very good to know. As you guys know, mice can get up in your car, in your engine bay, and chew at the wires, and then you have a bigger issue. So number 8 is going to be for those with convertibles. Now, I don't have a convertible, I have an FRC Z06. For those with convertibles, he says to put the top down, but don't latch it, which I would have never known, right? In latching that, you're compressing your weather stripping, and it can cause issues over the winter, right? So with that being said, allow that weather stripping to just kind of relax, and that way it doesn't dry rot or break later on in the season. So number 9 is going to be, do not start the car for 15 minutes at a time. Now on this one here, he did have a longer explanation, so I'm going to read this from his tips verbatim. Do not start your car and let it run for 15 minutes and think that is a good thing. It is absolutely not. High compression engines need at least 45 minutes of runtime in order to build up enough heat to burn off any condensation created by the combustion process inside the engine and the exhaust. Running it for a few minutes actually will hurt your engine and not help it. Starting the engine after it has sat in cold for weeks isn't a good thing. There are 2 ways to approach this. 1, don't start the engine at all while it's in storage. This is the option that he chooses because it doesn't create any wear and tear on the engine. All of the oil is in the pan. When it's cold, you can get lots of friction on your engine internals before the oil reaches the top of the engine. The other option is to start it but let it run for 45 minutes, and that way it can build up heat faster. Now, I am guilty of this, and I will probably stop doing this. I do start my car up, I let it run for about 15 minutes, and that's kind of to make sure that the battery is okay. I connect the battery, start it up, as opposed to the battery sitting all winter. So that is a great recommendation that I am going to follow for this winter. Last but certainly not least, number 10 is going to be to check on your Corvette, right? Make sure it's in good condition. If you have a cover on it, make sure that cover is not altered. If you don't have a cover on it, make sure that there aren't any mice. You can pop your hood, you can look at it and inspect it, make sure everything's okay. Look inside the vehicle, see if there are any mice droppings around the car, because at that point you know you have creatures around your car, okay? So inspect the car, especially if it's sitting outside. You don't know who may try to tamper with the car. People are very curious. When they see cars with covers, they want to know what it is. They may lift it up, they may touch it, they may do different things to it, okay? So check your tires, check your car, check your battery. Just inspect those things as much as you can, okay? I appreciate you guys watching the video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, share the video, like the video. Check out Corvette C5 Freaks and Corvette Freaks, okay? One group is for C5s only, the other group is for all Corvettes. So no matter if you have a C1 through C8, you can go to that channel and check it out.